a wild couple of days in NBA free agency. Man, it is remarkable to me the money, and I don't know if you guys saw this deal, the money that Paul George got overnight. This is a mistake. It is not a mistake. No, it is not. But you're going to pay Paul George over $50 million a year for 4 years when he's 34 years old. Yes, he's still an elite shooter, and I have evangelized for, Paul George as there is a huge spider crawling on our light. We're all going to die. But my point is, I've evangelized for Paul George being one of the best mid-range players in the NBA. I have told you I think he is an elite shooter, but he's 34 years old. He's a guy that misses a lot of games. Are you comfortable paying him north of $50 million a season? I am not. I think this is, I'm not going to say desperate, but this very clearly is Philadelphia going all in. This is an ass load of money. Are you surprised at the money?
Well, I'm not necessarily surprised from the standpoint of that's what it was going to take to get him. Obviously Paul was, a guy in free agency who was looking for a max, and he's good enough to get a max. And, we all know how the NBA works when it comes to paying these guys. So am I surprised from the money? Am I surprised about the money itself? No, not particularly. But I think for the Sixers, the thing that's plagued them over the last 5 years with these, star players, guys who are as good as Paul George is their availability, like you said, and their willingness to do what it takes to go on a deep run through the East. And, obviously it's not fair to discredit or hate on this Paul George deal because of what happened with, James Harden and that whole situation, because we obviously all know that James Harden is a guy that loves to get his money and then, tends to leave organizations pretty quickly. But I think that the difference here is that, Paul George has to prove that at the end of the year, when you're trying to go on a deep playoff run, he can stay healthy, because everybody remembers the infamous, Paul George experience against the Utah Jazz in 2021. We remember that Paul George absolutely torched that playoff Jazz team. And that's what I think ultimately got him this kind of deal. People remember, hey, this is somebody who is capable of 30 plus every single night in a playoff game. And the 76ers need more of that. But I would agree. There's got to be big concerns around availability when you look at their roster in totality. Like, it's not as though Joel Embiid is some bulletproof player. Now, he's been better, certainly. He's been more consistent with his availability. And obviously, when he's healthy, I still maintain he is the absolute best big in the league because of the way he plays the game. But again, would anybody be surprised if in May of 2025, we're sitting here talking about how Joel's back hurts and, Paul's knee hurts and it's Tyrese Maxey and everybody else, right? Like, I wouldn't even be a little bit surprised, dude. Like, that's what it's been.
I don't know about that. I'm more worried about the fact that you are giving Paul George, 212 over 4 years is like $52.7 million, like $53 million. I mean, you're giving him $53 million a year. You're not going to have a lot of flexibility. And I think Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid are fine. But you know what the real truth in this is? You're not better than the Knicks. And right now, after the Mikal Bridges trade, now the Knicks also gave up an incredible amount of assets to get Mikal Bridges. But I think the Knicks are now a better defensive team than the Boston Celtics are. And we can sit here and we can talk about Paul George, but the bottom line is you are far more dynamic with the Knicks than you are with the Sixers or the Celtics, in my opinion. I think there's a lot of business left for the Knicks to do. I think the Hartenstein situation, I think trying to round out that roster, but when you look at man for man and you look at the defensive tenacity that exists now in the Garden, I don't know how you don't look at the Knicks and say that they're the best defensive team in the East, because I don't know that it's close. Can the Celtics bring everybody back? We'll find out. But when I look at Josh Hart, DiVincenzo, I obviously Mikal Bridges, they match up excessively well, extremely well, unbelievably well with the Boston Celtics. And I look at the Sixers. I don't trust those guys to stay healthy. I don't trust Paul George to play 70 games. I don't trust Joel Embiid to play 70 games. And you're paying a lot of money for those guys, and they're not going to be on the floor. I know for a fact that Jalen Brunson, I know for a fact that Hart, DiVincenzo, Mikal Bridges, those guys want to play 80 games a year. Those guys want to battle. Those guys want to hold you down. They can now win. Understand this. The New York Knicks can now win games scoring 95 points. That's a big difference. There's not a team in the West or the East that is better defensively, in my opinion, than the New York Knicks are now that you've added Mikal Bridges. And you did it at a very reasonable number. I think this has been a huge win for the Knicks. I think this was a big move with Mikal Bridges. And I look at this Paul George contract. I don't think it makes him the best team in the East.
No, I don't think it makes him the best team in the East, but I do think it turns the East. When you look at the Bridges situation with the Knicks, you look at this Paul George deal, obviously the Celtics, it does make the East deeper. There's no question about it. I feel like the East now is a conference where you've got, 4 legitimate teams, assuming, Milwaukee's around. You always have to throw them in there because they have Giannis, but you have 4 teams that can legitimately go out and contend for a title. And I think that is what the not only the NBA needs, but the East needed it. Because I still maintain the East is the weaker of the 2 conferences, but this free agency period has certainly improved upon that. It's certainly, kind of leveled the playing field a little bit. So I think the only question that's left is out west, like, what are the Lakers going to do? What are, where do the Dallas Mavericks go from here? Because everyone wants to talk about Klay Thompson and the Dallas Mavericks. But what I'm talking about is Derrick Jones Jr. left that team, and he was a big part of what they were doing. So I look out west and I see some teams that have a lot of question marks. And I look out east and I'm like, hey, the Eastern Conference teams have basically solidified themselves and are ready to go. So the only question is, who's it going to be out of the West this time?
The Clippers are interesting. I mean, the Kevin Porter Jr. deal, obviously, the Derrick Jones Jr. deal, obviously. I mean, you're not replacing Paul George with Kevin Porter Jr.
Right.
But I mean, you brought in more talent there. I just look at the Sixers adding Eric Gordon, the Sixers adding Andre Drummond, Kelly Oubre Jr. Like, those are not, in my opinion, championship moves. The Clippers are all in on winning a championship. They're going to spend their bread. They're going into a new building. Like, they're going to be in the luxury tax. If we're talking about strictly West, I look at the Lakers and you've got to close a free agent here.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to close a free agent. There's no doubt in my mind. When I look at Klay Thompson, he is a guy that you have to have on that team. I think if you're the Lakers and you don't get Klay Thompson, and it's this neat feel-good story that the NBA made sure that Bronny was, drafted by the Lakers, and everybody's all boned over that. That's great. That doesn't help them win a championship. The Lakers are not today closer to a championship than they were before the draft.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people forget that. I look at Klay Thompson. He makes them a better team. You have the foundational pieces. All of these stories being written about where LeBron James is going to sign next. Yeah, they just drafted his son with the Lakers, and he's going anywhere but there. Stop. It is just such a waste of space on the interwebs, right? Like, let's stop writing those stories. What I'm telling you is LeBron is going to take less money regardless of what Kendrick Perkins says, who, again, why is he employed as an NBA analyst? I don't know. LeBron's going to take less money to make sure that he gets Klay Thompson.
Right.
And if you didn't hear the news, the first call that Klay Thompson got in free agency, LeBron James. The first call. right at 6:00. The first call to Klay Thompson was not the Mavericks, was not, Rob Pelinka. It was LeBron James. So if you're Klay Thompson, are you really saying no to LeBron James to go and sign with the Dallas Mavericks? No, you're not. Sorry. You're not. To go and be relevant in Dallas, or to be part of the reason where the Lakers, who your father played for, Klay Thompson's dad played for them. Do you really think he's going to pass on that opportunity? It'd be stunning.
Well, and I think for Klay, like, obviously, he's been a Warrior his entire career. And I think when you look at Klay Thompson as a player, he obviously fits in extremely well with LeBron James's game and how he goes about playing basketball. And I think that, when you look at the bubble championship for the Lakers, why did they win that championship? Because they had KCP knocking it down from three on a regular basis through that entire series. And I think if I'm Klay Thompson, that's what I'm looking at. I'm saying, hey, like, why would we not try to recreate what you guys did in the bubble? Like, except I'm going to be a better version of what KCP was, because Klay Thompson's best, in my opinion, is better than KCP. And I don't care that KCP just got a massive deal, right?
From Orlando,
right? So, like, Klay Thompson, he's obviously not the defender he was pre-ACL, right? But I think that ultimately Klay Thompson is someone who could go to Los Angeles and he can help put them over the top. And I love the fact that we're getting the reporting, over the weekend that the Lakers are prioritizing Reeves over D'Lo, because Reeves is the younger guy. He's the better defender. He's more pliable within their roster. So, like, I think that Rob Pelinka and Jeannie Buss are doing a good job of evaluating the roster. But ultimately, you have to go out, like you said, and get this deal done. You can't have another situation this offseason where you had someone in the palm of your hand, you had the ability to go and close them, and then you just weren't willing to pay them what it was going to take to get the deal done. And yes, LeBron obviously is the X factor here. Obviously, he opted out so he could give up money. Is he willing to give up enough money to get Klay Thompson? I'm going to go ahead and say, yeah, he's willing to do that, mainly because LeBron James is a billionaire and doesn't really need the money, right? Obviously, what he needs is a championship. This is the Tom Brady discussion all over again. So I'm just saying that don't be surprised if Klay goes to the Lakers. I would be shocked if Klay Thompson went and played for the Dallas Mavericks. I have to agree, the Dallas Mavericks feel like too far of a step down from where you were with the Warriors if you're Klay Thompson.
Yeah, we'll see. I think there are a lot of names floating around. I think it'll be very interesting to see what the Lakers do, and because I think you have to get Klay on a mid-level exception, and then I think you have to go and make a deal. And it'll be interesting to see how Rob Pelinka shapes this roster, because they're not good enough right now to win a championship. They're not close.
Right.
You need a finisher. You need somebody. Klay Thompson would be, obviously, the best three-point shooter, that the Lakers have had with LeBron James.
Mm-hmm.
Very clearly. Is he enough on his own with the group that is there? If it is D'Lo, if it is Austin Reeves, if it is Klay Thompson, LeBron, Anthony Davis, Dalton Connect, like is that group good enough? I think they're close. I think that's a midseason trade away from winning a championship.
Well, I think if you get Klay Thompson, the Dalton Connect contribution becomes much better. So if you have Klay Thompson in your starting five, and somehow, some way you can swing it where Dalton Connect is your sixth man, because that's what I'd like to see them do with Dalton Connect starting out in his rookie season. I'd like to see them bring him off the bench as their sixth man, come in and get buckets. That's all I'm going to ask you to do, because that's what you showed us you can do. You have a great skill set. You're a pretty good defender. Come off the bench with the second unit and give us those, because the other thing the Lakers need is somebody to spell them when LeBron's not on the floor. So there obviously are different ways you could go about that. You could take LeBron off, keep AD and Klay on, bring Dalton Connect in. Like, okay, there are options
Bronny.
here, but yeah,
Bronny.
Bronny, right?
You're
Like
gonna-
LaPops is on the bench, Bronny comes in, and we're good to go. No, that's not going to happen. I'm not sure that Bronny is going to be on that roster full time. Like, I would not be surprised.
Man, I'd be shocked if he spent a second in the G.
I don't know that I would be. I think that you drafted him, and now we need to see him, continue to put the work in and get to a place where he can actually contribute, even if it's for 10 minutes a night.
I would be really surprised.
What's the best for Bronny in his rookie season? Because I do think that the Bronny conversation, while it is secondary today because of the Paul George stuff, I do think it is a really interesting thing that we haven't really seen in the league before. Like, obviously, Bron and Bronny had this plan. We're not surprised by any of this, but I think now the conversation shifts to, what does Bronny's path look like? Because what's going to happen here is you're on the Lakers. Bron's got like 3, maybe 4 years left at most. And in that time, if you think about it on rookie contracts, that's when you come into your own as a player in those first 3 to 4 seasons. You're either going to get that second contract or you're going to turn into a guy that bounces around the league. So if you're Bronny, like, is this somebody who's going to get, even 10 minutes a night in his rookie season? Because I don't think that's guaranteed.
I don't think it's about playing time. I think it's about being on the floor at the same time with LeBron. That's what this is about. And I think that is all this has been about. I can't believe that we see him in the G League. I would be stunned by that. I just would be. I think the Lakers, in my opinion, and whether or not the GM is able to pull off a Klay Thompson deal, the Caps, over the hill, the old man, we get it. If LeBron James,
AARP,
if LeBron James is able to bring in Klay Thompson, and they get that deal done, and I think he will, because Klay, I think, and I know everybody's making this point, Klay Thompson isn't chasing money. Klay Thompson is chasing redemption.
Yeah.
Klay Thompson is chasing a chance to win a championship and a chance to say, I was one of the reasons the Warriors won. And I think right now he feels like his legacy is tied to Steph Curry and Draymond Green, who I think largely get more credit than Klay does. I think Klay wants to win a championship, which is why I don't think you're not going to Dallas. I mean, Luka showed you with that fat ass that he is not a championship caliber player.
Well, and I think that I have faith that Klay recognizes that. Like, you don't go from playing with, again, Steph, a Hall of Famer, one of the best to ever do it, and Dre and Kevin Durant at one point, obviously. You don't go from playing with that caliber of talent and that caliber of guy to playing with a guy in Luka who clearly isn't there yet. I mean, obviously had his first opportunity this past season to win a championship. It didn't work out, which is fine. He's still young, plenty of time. But I don't know. Luka and Klay doesn't seem like a fit. It just doesn't. Like, you say that pairing and you're like, yeah, that doesn't really feel like a great fit. Oh, LeBron James and Klay Thompson? Yeah, that feels like a fit. Right? Like that makes sense.
But again, this is what I say about Mikal Bridges and the Knicks. It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
It works. It's a fit. They're going to win a championship with that group. Like, you can see all of that with the Knicks.
Well, I think the Bridges thing too also, because a lot of people were like, oh, well, can they stay healthy? And I'm like, yeah, I do think they'll have a better chance of staying healthy because they have another guy in the starting 5 that now can truly contribute. Like, you're not relying on, Mitchell Robinson and Julius Randle to come through and stay healthy the whole season. Like, you're not relying on just those 3 guys to carry you now. Like, the idea that you've got these 4 guys back. Why are you sighing? They got hurt at the end of the year. You're not getting away from that. You lost to Indiana because you were hurt.
No, you lost to Indiana because you were relying on Bojan Bagsnatchevich, right? Like that's why this Knick team, it's different. This group does not rely on, and this is the Isaiah Hartenstein conversation. You're not relying on those guys. And I think the other guy that's a free agent that nobody's talking about for the Lakers, who's a Southern California guy, who is desperate to win a championship by all accounts, is DeMar DeRozan. You put DeMar DeRozan on the Lakers, it's Mikal Bridges on the Knicks. It's a great fit. Those are guys that play high-volume games. DeMar, I think, has averaged 74 games a year in his time with the Bulls.
Yeah, he's durable. No doubt.
Right? So, you talk about injuries. I agree that you build rosters with durability in mind. The Knicks had a bunch of players that were never counted on to be healthy. That's the reality of it. There's not a Mitchell Robinson. The only thing he's done is get hurt. That's it. DiVincenzo, Jalen Brunson, like those guys, to me, those guys will be there. What happened with Jalen was a freak injury. It's guys like Donovan Mitchell. Why the Knicks, in my opinion, are better off with Mikal Bridges and Donovan Mitchell is simply because Mikal Bridges is a better defender, and he's a guy who plays high-volume games.
Yeah.
Like, the Knicks, that's a great fit. DeMar DeRozan with the Lakers is a great fit. Klay Thompson with the Lakers is a great fit. Go sign those guys, go trade D'Angelo Russell, and go compete for a championship. That's the pathway forward. The truth is, the Dallas Mavericks are not a good organization. The Dallas Mavericks are not built to win. The Dallas Mavericks, until Luka changes his game, the Mavericks are who they are. You can put anybody you want in there. He's going to go 1-on-4 multiple times.
Facts.
And they're going to lose.
And he's not going to play defense.
And they're going to lose. And he's not going to have the stamina to get up and down. And he's not going to have the stamina to consistently shoot three-pointers. He's going to go cold. Like, the Mavericks are not a championship organization. The Lakers are. You don't have to like that. But you better embrace the fact the Lakers are a championship organization. The Knicks, in my opinion, are not. That's a team that's got to prove that they can win a championship. The Lakers are proven. The Clippers are not a championship organization. The Lakers are proven. Look at the Celtics, who just won again. Now they're proven again to be a championship organization. The Philadelphia 76ers are not.
Yeah.
It's as simple as it can be. As simple as it can be. All right.
And I still maintain the Bucks are sitting here watching all this happen, realizing they made a mistake with Dame.
Yeah.
And I don't know what Giannis is. Like, if you're Giannis, are you not sitting here saying, what are we doing? Like, at some point, are we not going to get someone?
But you slurp Dame. Like, I mean, you partake in throat stretching exercises over Damian Lillard.
Bro, you just rolled out throat stretching.
What?
Dude, throat stretching, it's only Monday.
Am I wrong?
Yeah.
No, I'm not wrong. You love you some Dame. And I get it. I'm sure the flavor is amazing. What I'm telling you is Damian Lillard was not the problem in Milwaukee. It's, again, are the Milwaukee Bucks a championship organization? No, they're not. No, they're not.
Okay, so how do you define that then? Because obviously they have
teams that make good moves every year and they compete for championships. That's not the Milwaukee Bucks. That's not the LA Clippers. That's not the Dallas Mavericks. It's not. Oh, but Monty and the Mavericks have a championship. Cool. So do the Bucks.
Yeah.
Are the Chicago Bulls a championship organization?
No.
Oh, but Monty, they have like those 6 championships. Cool. Nothing before that and nothing after that. They're not a championship organization. Like, this is not rocket science. The NBA, and this is why I love the NBA, because those that have the money don't win championships. Mark Cuban's got all the money in the world.
What do you think about, while we're talking about championship organizations, this Spurs situation with Chris Paul? Because I don't know what to make of this, because you know that Chris Paul is not going to play a lot of games there, right? Like, obviously, if you're Chris Paul, you're not going to bust your ass to play 80 games in San Antonio with where they're at right now. But I do like the Chris Paul to Wemby idea. That's good basketball. X's and O's wise, that works.
I think you need somebody who can teach Victor Wembanyama how to play basketball.
Right.
Because of all the great things Victor did last year, he clearly, and still I think most people would agree, he hasn't learned how to compete and how to be a professional yet at the NBA level. He needs somebody to teach him that.
Yeah, it was very apparent that Victor could put up numbers, but those numbers weren't impactful on the game. And that's what he's got to change. He's got to figure out, okay, how does my, 25 and 15 or better, because I do think he's still got a ton more upside, he'll realize. But, how does my contribution help my team win? Because again, it's the great debate in the NBA. You look around, the league, like the Houston Rockets, all those dudes, or any team that doesn't win a lot but's got some talent. Those guys can fill up. Charlotte with LaMelo Ball, perfect example. Hey, you can fill it up and you can break off Drew Holiday and all this in the regular season, but it doesn't really lead to wins. It doesn't do anything. And I think that's what Victor has to figure out.
Luka Doncic.
Yeah, Luka Doncic, right?
Puts up tons of numbers, but doesn't win games. And Mavericks fans who have routinely been on this show, we've talked about this, dude. Luka Doncic is a really talented scorer of the basketball. He got embarrassed defensively, and they can't compete for a championship. The West, in my opinion, was uniquely set up, and I just don't see, how you make the argument now that Dallas is anything but an afterthought or a fallback plan for every free agency in the NBA.
100%.
But why is that? Ask yourself this question. If Klay takes the Lakers over the Mavericks, because as I think was properly pointed out on the interwebs last night,
right?
Financially speaking, the state of Texas is a better fit than the state of California. It's much more expensive to live in Los Angeles. But Klay Thompson's, in my opinion, will take the Lakers. Now, we'll see. If he takes the Mavericks, my guess is it'll be exponentially more money.
It would have to be.
Exponentially more money. That's the only thing that could, in my opinion, if they're offering you $30 million a year and the Lakers are giving you the mid-level accept, come on. Who are we kidding? That's the only reason you would sign with the Mavericks. I don't know any other reason.
Yeah, I don't know. If you're Klay Thompson, I literally think it's a downgrade to go to Dallas, like from where you were with Steph and all of that. And obviously, the championship stuff is put behind them. Like they clearly have left that window, and that's why they're moving on from Klay. But still, on a nightly basis, you're playing with, some of your best friends in life at that point. Like Steph Curry and Klay Thompson are the Splash Bros. Like you don't just go from that to playing with Luka. That's not how this should go for Klay Thompson.
And if you look at the paydays, and there are, like, Paul George got paid and he's going to compete at the top of the East. Okay, he's on one of the three best teams in the East. Who's another guy that took money? Cantavius Caldwell-Pope.
Mm-hmm.
Multiple championships already, right? He won in Denver, won in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
He's been paid exceptionally well. He went to Orlando on a nice deal. He went to Orlando because that's a golden parachute.
Right.
Income tax, again, it's cheaper to live in Orlando than it is to live, because the Lakers would have happily taken him back. He went to Orlando because that's where the payday is.
Right.
So, in my opinion, I think you're looking at a situation with Klay Thompson where I just don't think the money means that much. I really don't think the money means that much to him. He wants to prove he's still a championship caliber player.
Yeah, I mean, and I think the deal you're talking about is the Chris Paul deal, right? I mean, you're talking about
$30 million a year.
$30 million a year, right? So I mean, Chris Paul
in San Antonio, state of Texas.
So Chris Paul obviously prioritizes money over winning. I mean, that's just as
at this
as
point in his career.
Yeah. So I mean, that's fine. That doesn't make him a bad guy. I'm just telling you, if you're going to go to San Antonio with where they're at, you're doing it for the money, not because you want to win.
You're doing it to play 30 games, and you're doing it to pat Victor Wembanyama on the back.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I totally get it. Yeah, we'll see.
I can just see it now. LeBron James, 8 steps to cross the entire court, only to kick it to the corner to a Hall of Fame 3-point shooter. Come on, guy.
Well, and I mean, we have Oak State James, that he graduated from Oklahoma State in 2004, letting us know LeBron's willing to take a pay cut.
James, dude,
my guy,
bro. Quick question, dude. Are you trolling? Are you trolling with that comment?
I think
bro?
he is,
dude. If that's trolling, that's some really excellent trolling.
There it is. Matt Ritson, hello. He says, "Welcome back, Monty and Jake. We miss you." Oh no, we missed you.
Yeah,
we missed you.
Yeah. Are you going again? So my dude over here, I roll up this morning. It's first time back in a week, and obviously early morning. And I'm like, hey, Marty, how'd you sleep?
Hey, Marty,
how'd you sleep? My guy over here is like, yeah, well, I slept fine, except for the fact that I had a real gusher last night. It was pretty rough.
It wasn't last night. It was in the shower this morning.
Oh, my bad.
Get up at 4:00. Everything's great. Get in the shower. Everything's great. Take my nice warm shower.
Mm-hmm.
Wake myself up. I have a glass shower, right?
Yeah.
So I squeegee my glass every morning.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden,
oh boy,
that time of the month, bro,
dude,
just gushing. So I had to turn the water back on, and I just stood there and
that's one of my favorite ways to deal with a bloody nose. Stand in the shower, let it run its course.
And I'm just sitting here, and it's just
yeah.
And it was one of those ones. And I finally got out of the shower, and it just kept going and going and going and going.
Yeah. It's dry in Salt Lake. There's no doubt about it.
I am going to be highly annoyed.
And when you go to a moist climate like the Hawaiian Islands, and then you come back, that tends to happen.
Mike Smith, Mountain Mama, hello. Thought about Mike Smith in Hawaii. Having a nice dinner. And the guy that was playing the ukulele, there was a dude doing some live music.
Mm-hmm.
He pulled out the John Denver Mountain Mama, changed the words to Hawaii. Mrs. Monty and I are sitting there. Mrs. Marty and I are sitting there singing along. Is what it is. Bricked up Bronny, hello.
Bricked up
Bronny. What about the Copa America? What about it? Good to see Mexico choked on a D again.
Yeah, like what do you mean?
I love
Copa
that Mexican.
America?
I love that Mexican soccer fans are like, we're the best. You're not. Well, Chicharito. James says the one advantage that Dallas has is Texas has no state income tax.
Marty, dude,
are you sure? It's my guy. San Diego State Glenn, get that suspect vein in your nose cauterized, Monty. I'm telling you.
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous. Jeremiah Champion, last week was so boring. I know. Mike Smith, Marty playing in the shower, slipped and hit his nose on the wall. So I have a nice shower.
Mm-hmm.
I have like a fully tiled shower, like really well done. And you're just squeegeeing the glass, and you're stark naked and stuff, and you just see that blood just bounce off your nice tile after you've squeegeed. And you got to turn the water back on.
It was at this moment that he knew.
I was so mad, dude. I was so mad.